In nutrition and diet, calories, they are a measure of how much energy a food or drink contains. So the total number of calories within a particular food is the sum of the amount of energy released by each of the components. That's protein, carbohydrates, and fats. Just give me a second because 1 gram of fat has 9 kilocalories. So that's the highest energy yielding macronutrient. 1 gram of protein has 4 kilocalories. 1 gram of carbohydrate has 4 kilocalories. 1 gram of alcohol contains 7 calories. So why calories are important? Because we need the energy for our bodies to function properly. We need the calories for weight maintenance, and we should use the same amount of calories each time, because if you eat more, it is likely, I'm not saying it will happen, it is likely that weight will increase because your body would store the extra calories as fat. Eating less, you may experience some weight loss. You may experience. So the number of calories that each person needs, it depends on certain factors like your age, your lifestyle, your size, your gender, and sometimes hormones has to do with the amount of calories you take in, like your thyroid hormones, some medication like steroids. And if you're unwell, that can also affect the amount of calories that you would take in. So the term calories is mostly used, but the real term is kilocalories, because 1,000 calories equal 1 kilocalorie. And you see it on food packages. Sometimes you may see kilojoules, which is the same as kilocalories, but 4.2 kilojoules is equal to approximately 1 calorie. It is recommended that caloric intake range from 1,600 to 3,200 calories per day based on the factors I mentioned in the previous slide. Your caloric intake will change as your body composition, size, activity level, and health change. And here's a little table that gives us caloric ranges for different people, for women, men, teenagers, and adolescents, and little children like 2 to 3 years and 4. So these are just recommendations, okay? It's not written in stone. It can be changed based on the factors I mentioned previously. For infants and young children, they are good at taking care of their caloric intake. So it is better for them if you ensure that they have a balanced diet versus watching how many calories they take in. Because infants, they have to feed them several times a day because that's how they are. On our nutrition fact labels, we always see that whatever serving size they recommend there, it's always based on a 2,000 kilocalorie diet. Okay, so I hope you have your pen and your paper. I want you to write down some stuff for me before we start, because we're going to do some calculations. If you're ready to write, let me know. Let's say yes. You can open your mics.
Yes.
Okay. Write down your height in inches. So I'm 5 feet 6 inches. So I'm 66 inches high. Right? 5 feet equals 60 inches. And then you add the other 6. So write down your height in inches, your weight in pounds, your age, and your gender. We are going to convert the first two in a while to centimeters and to kilograms. We're talking about ideal body weight. I'm sure you've heard that term before. Ideal body weight is a weight associated with your height, and it puts you at low risk for any chronic diseases and health issues. So this is how they calculate your ideal body weight. For men, I guess you could write that down while I talk, 106 pounds, that's supposed to be pounds, for the first 5 feet, and 6 pounds for every inch above 5 feet, or minus 6 pounds for every inch below 5 feet. And the ladies, 100 pounds for the first 5 feet, and you add 5 feet for every inch above, and 5 feet minus 5. Let me say that again. 100 pounds for the women for the first 5 feet, and 5 pounds for every inch above 5 feet. 5 pounds minus for every inch below 5 feet. So if you don't understand that, you can let me know so we can talk about it briefly. So I am 5 feet 6 inches. So my ideal body weight would be 130 pounds. Understand? If it was a man, you would have 106 pounds for the first 5 feet, and 6 sixes, 36. So he would be 136. 106, I can't add 106. 136. So everybody found the ideal body weight? And ask a question if you want. You have to write that down and keep it there because we're going to use it later. That is your ideal body weight, which will help you to be at low risk for any health related to diseases. We often hear the term healthy weight. That's a healthy weight range. You have a range, and it has to do with your BMI. So if your BMI falls between 18.5 to 24.9, you're at a healthy weight range. The healthy weight is having the right proportion of body fat in relation to overall body mass. It helps you to feel energetic, reduces health risk, prevents premature aging and usually improves your quality of life. It usually focuses on your body mass index. And this is what I was talking about. This is the ideal body weight calculations for men and women. For the ideal body weight, they give you a leeway of adding 10% of your ideal body weight. So you will have, for the woman, is 150 to 165 pounds. If you're anywhere between there, you're considered, the BMI is considered good. Okay, this is just another example. So if a man is 100, if a man is 4 feet 10 inches, who can tell me what his ideal body weight would be?
What, 94 pounds?
Yeah, that's right. It will be 94 pounds. Because we have to subtract. So he's 2 inches below 5 feet. So we have to subtract 6 inches for every inch below the 5 feet. Okay, so they gave us some body mass index. I wrote them down to show us if our body masses are between these numbers, you're either in the healthy weight, or you're in the overweight, or you're in the class 1 obesity, severely obese or morbidly obese. And I think there's an area where we find our body mass index. It's not hard to find. You can go on Google. They also have little cards. I have one here. I have this one that helps us to find our body mass index and see. We're doing all of these calculations because when we reach to the area, we have to calculate how many calories recommended per day. We have to use all these things that I'm talking about. Okay, so let's see if we can calculate our BMI. Even though some of us might know it, let's see if you can calculate our BMI. So you take your weight in pounds, multiply it by 703, and divide it by twice your height in inches. So I put the numbers in parentheses because that's how we're supposed to do it. You're supposed to do this one first, then you do this one. Work out all the brackets, all the parentheses first, and then you do the division. So get your weight in pounds, multiply it by 703, and write that down, and multiply your height by itself. If we look at the answer for this one, and we think about the ranges I just showed you, you'll see that this person is in the overweight because they are above the 24.9, 18.5 to 24.9. That's a healthy range. If you are below 18.5, it doesn't mean that you are sick. I guess that's your nature to be small. Got it?
Yes, I got mine.
Got yours?
Yeah.
Yeah, we got ours.
I'm not ashamed to say this is mine, so that's why I'm overweight. But I didn't do the 10% ideal body weight, so I might get away if I do that.
So I can add 10%.
10%, no.
On the
Ideal
women.
body, 10% of your ideal body weight.
So mine was 24.68. I
Your
didn't
ideal-
do 10%.
What was your ideal body weight?
My ideal body weight.
Mine is 130. And I did 10% of 130, that's 13. So
125 was the ideal body weight.
So do add 12 to that and you'll have a range. You'll have 125 to.
Oh, good. That's encouraging.
That's right, I agree with you.
Okay, so my ideal body weight, I guess according to my height,
Oh, so I'm right.
oh, sure, wait, I'm trying to figure this out. So I'm 63 inches. I think I got confused somewhere because my internet.
If you're 63 inches,
Right, my ideal body weight.
5 feet
5'3".
3, so it's 100 plus 15, that's 115. And if you add 10%, if you have 10% of that, which is 11.
Okay.
That's 126. So your ideal body weight range
126.
is 115 to 126.
115 to 126. Got it. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and then if you go and find your BMI, you could take the upper one. I mean, you take your weight in pounds and multiply it by and see where your BMI falls. I don't know what your weight is, but is your weight time in pounds times 703 divided by your height times your height. Can I move on?
You can move on. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now that times depends on where your BMI falls, and you're going to do calculations for caloric intake. You have to adjust the weight, especially if the person is 20 to 25% above the ideal body weight. Okay, so it is used for that, for caloric calculations, adjusted body weight, and it's also used in clinical settings, like for medication dosing and look at your kidney function. And if you have amputations, you have to adjust your body weight, because if you have amputations, that means you're going, if you're a certain weight and you cut off your 2 legs, that means you're lighter. So you can't use the actual body weight. You have to do some adjustment for that. So we're going to, I don't know if anybody wants to adjust their body weight. If you, well, I'm not going to adjust mine, but I put it here so you could see. You have to take away your ideal body weight, the lower one, I did the lower one, from your actual weight. So my actual weight is 167 and I took away 130. It left me with 37. So to find your adjusted body weight, you have to find 40%. It's kind of, I hope you understand. You have to find 40% of that 37 and add it to your ideal body weight. So you divide, let me say it again. If 167 minus 130 equals 37. Okay, yeah, so you have to find what percent you are over your ideal body weight. That's over your actual weight. So that's what I did. So your actual weight minus your ideal body weight, it gives you a number. And then to find the percentage, you have 37 over 167 times 100. That is if you have to adjust your weight. Some people don't have to adjust their weight because their weight is fine. But those of us who are over our ideal body weight by a lot, or our BMI falls in the range of the overweight, obese, and that, we have to adjust it. So that when we go to calculate our caloric intake, we don't overestimate. So here I am 22.16%, or you could say 20% over. So this is finding percent ideal body weight. What percent your actual weight is over your ideal body weight. So I have the two. 167 is my actual weight, 130 is my ideal body weight. I get 37, and then you find the percentage, and it comes out to 22.16. So you could write down that equation. If there's anything you want me to go over, that's fine. Okay. So now to adjust the weight, we have to find 40% of the difference between your actual body weight and your ideal body weight. So I bring back the equation here. The difference between my actual body weight and my ideal body weight is 37. And 40% of 37 is 14.8. I add the 14.8 to my ideal body weight, and I get, you could say, 145 pounds. So when I'm going to calculate my caloric intake, I will use 145 pounds because I adjusted my weight. I can't use the 167 because it will give me too many calories. I'll be over my calorie consumption if I use my actual weight. Now we are going to be getting close to calculating our energy intake. We're going to talk about basal metabolic rate, which is defined as the amount of energy the body needs for normal functioning when it is at rest. And those normal functions include breathing, blood circulation, body temperature maintenance, cell growth, brain and nerve function, muscle. You're not doing anything, you're just at rest. But then it has another one called, I'm not going to that yet. So basal metabolic rate accounts for about 60 to 75% of our daily calorie expenditure. And after a time, it declines 1 to 2% for every 10 years, every 10 years. That is why the elderly people, our energy requirements decreases as we age because our BMR or basal metabolic rate is not working as it used to. Then we have a resting metabolic rate, which is similar to the basal metabolic rate, but it includes eating, using the bathroom, walking for short periods, sweating or shivering. Is the amount of energy that the body needs to function at rest, but they are low activities. You don't use a lot to get up and go to the bathroom. You don't use a lot of energy. But when you're going to calculate your energy intake, you use your basal metabolic rate. Okay, so we have the formula to calculate our energy intake. There are many ways to calculate your energy intake, but this one I'm using, the Mifflin-St. This is the one most experts use, and they consider it the most accurate. Remember, I said I have different ways to find it, but this is the most accurate. And we're going to plug in on the next. We're going to plug in some numbers, but this Mifflin-St. is formulated to use a metric system. So we have to change our weight to kilograms and our height to centimeters. And to change your weight to kilograms, you divide by 2.2, and to change your inches to centimeters, we multiply by 2.54. Okay, so ladies, I want you to write this down and plug in your numbers. And I have certain of them, certain group of numbers in parentheses, and I want you to write down the same thing. So it's 10 times your weight in kilograms minus 66 plus 6.25, and my height is 166 centimeters, minus 5 times my age, minus 161. And what you're going to come out with is your basal metabolic rate, the energy you use when you are at rest. We have other factors that we have to add. I'm going to give the men there. The men own is the same up to the last number. So the men is the same. Let me go back and get the men, because 10 times your weight plus 6.25 times your height in centimeters minus 5 times your age plus 5. That's it for the men. Okay, let's continue. Let me know if you're stuck anywhere, if you want anything back up on the screen. Now for mine, when I calculated mine, I got 1197 calories for my BMR. That's the amount of calories I would use when I'm at rest. But the other factors you have to bring into consideration, like your activity level and your stress level, because if you're very active, you're going to have to eat more food. If you're sick or you're stressed, your body going to need more nourishment. So here we have some activity factors, which we are going to multiply by our BMR number. So if you're sedentary, you multiply your BMR by 1.2. If you're active lightly or moderately, or you're very active, you have the number. So you can choose one from there. And below you have your stress factor. So you have to multiply your BMR by your activity level and then by your stress level. So if your BMI is 1195 and your activity factor is 1.4, you have to multiply 1195 by 1.4. Whatever answer you get, and you go get your stress factor, and your stress factor is 2, you have to multiply the answer you got before by 2. And that would give you an indication of your caloric intake for the day. Those are only recommendations. Nothing is written in stone, but it's a guide for us. It's another set of stress factors, especially persons like in the hospital, and they have surgery, infection, trauma, burns, sepsis. They'll use some of these to calculate these are more specific to calculate their energy intake. And it's the doctors who give you the stress factor, especially in the hospital. So I worked mine out. My activity level is 1.4, my stress factor is 1.9, and I got 1843 kilocalories per day for me. I don't know what you got, so anybody wants to share what they got for their caloric intake for the day? Based on your BMR times your activity factor times your stress factor. Emily, you're smiling. What you saying?
I was just last smiling because mine is similar to yours. But what I was looking at here is because of stress, you have to increase your calorie intake. That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Stress factors cause you to increase calorie intake. So that could be
Especially if you are sick,
right. Yeah.
you have to, those persons with burns, their caloric intake is very high because they need a lot of calories to heal, because they lose a lot of protein in the weeping of the burns and all that.
Right. Mhm.
Okay. So you can hold that. Empty calories, they have empty calories, very few nutrients, and a lot of calories. When you eat more than the number of calories you burn, you enter calorie surplus and experience weight gain. So a general rule of thumb is to reduce your caloric intake if you want to lose some weight by 500 calories a day. And you can do that through diet. You can reduce it from the things you eat and exercise. So you can reduce your food intake by 200 calories and exercise and burn 300 calories or the like. You can burn more, but that's just a general rule of thumb. And if you want to lose 1 pound of fat in a week, it's 3,500 calories. So every day for the 7 days, you burn 500 calories through diet and exercise. It's not recommended that ladies eat less than 1,200 calories or men 1,500 calories except under the supervision of a healthcare person. If you eat too few, you can endanger your health by depriving your body of the nutrients needed. And if your body does not get enough of the protein, carbohydrate, fat, vitamins, and minerals from the food you eat, it will take it from your muscle, bones, and organ tissue. You make them eat you alive. So malnutrition and disease can come in, or you can die if you don't eat enough. So if you want to reduce your calories, get some advice from the experts. Some people may have to do that based on what is going on with them. I just said that you can lose some weight if you want by reducing your energy intake. And you can gain some weight by increasing. But if you're going to eat more calories, make sure they're higher in nutrients than calories. Good nutrients. You can eat some high calories, but make sure most of it, your food is very good, high nutrient. And some people, if they don't want to go all over and talk about working out this, when you're eating, this is how your plate should look. 3 sections, some have 4, but I have a 4th one with fruits, but I prefer this one. Half your plate vegetables, the other 1/4 starches, and the other 1/4 protein. And if you eat like that, chances are you can get the amount of calories that you need per day. So as I said before, everyone requires different amount of energy. Depends on the factors mentioned. But a lot of people, they say in the US and I guess other places, get about 11% of their calories from fast food. And these provide empty calories. High energy, low nutrition, empty calories. And then this is my last slide. He said, when you sit to dine, Proverbs 23, 1-3, when you sit to dine with a ruler, note well what is before you and put a knife to your throat. If you are given to gluttony, do not crave his delicacies, for that food is deceptive. That's the end of my presentation. If you want to go back over anything, we can do so.
Wow, that's excellent, Josephine. I like that verse you just ended on, that the delicacies that is set before you at the king's table, they are deceptive. Why? Because these foods are, although they have high calories, they are not nutritious. They do not have dense nutrition. So calories are important, but we must make sure that we get our calories from dense nutrient food. Because if we get our calories from foods that are not nutritious, yes, we'll be taking out the calories, but these calories are not going to metabolize in our bodies the same way as food that has dense nutrient. Like last week when I talked about sugar as the most deadly poison for our body, especially fructose. If you remember, fructose does not metabolize the same way as glucose. We need glucose in our bodies for energy, but fructose we do not need. That fructose is only metabolized in the liver, and it causes fatty liver because of overproduction or over excess of that fructose. It forms fat droplet. So as we look at this, let us remember that our calories, must come from dense nutrients. As Josephine showed that plate, if we look, half of it must be vegetables, because why? We have vegetables give us the fiber. Fiber our gut needs to help feed those good bacteria that will help keep us our biome or microbiome in a healthy state. Fiber, and also these bright colors like carrots and beets and all these, and broccoli, they have all these nutrients, all these vitamins and minerals that our body needs to keep us healthy. And grains, nuts, those are also excellent source of food to eat for fiber and protein. We need protein to help build muscles. So if we look at this plate, the three sections, whenever you sit down to eat, picture this in mind and make sure your plate looks something like this, and it will be advantageous to you. So any questions?
Mute yourself.
Oh, I'm still muted?
Dr. Sankey, you can't hear her.
Oh.
I found the information really helpful, because many times when people decide they want to, I'm going to use the word, go on a diet or lose weight or manage their weight better, they may not know exactly what their ideal weight should be. And if you just start losing weight, you actually could become underweight. And we just heard that that could be unhealthy as well. So just because someone wants to lose weight, they need to really start with knowing what their ideal weight is in order to know which direction, how much to reduce per day, and doing it gradually. And then also knowing the BMI is critical as well. I mean, I've heard so many mixed comments regarding BMI and how it's calculated and whether it really pertains to all people of all cultures. But I think that's still a starting point. Regardless of all those comments, that's still a good starting point when you're trying to do weight management. But again, under the direction of a physician. But you do need to know for yourself what range you should be in. So if they make a recommendation outside of that range, you would have some type of justification of saying what range you want to stay in order to live the healthiest.
Okay, there's a question. What if you just eat vegetables and protein alone?
It's not recommended that you leave out your food groups, because if you leave out your grains, that's where you get most of your energy. So the grains are important as well. The vegetables, they don't have a lot of energy, 25 calories, whereas the grains have like 60 or 80. The protein depends on which protein you use. But it's recommended that you include most of the food groups as possible. And that grain with the high caloric intake is something that you should incorporate. It doesn't have to be bread. It can be breadfruit, it can be potatoes, and our ground provisions, bananas and those things can be a part. Even if you just have one serving of it, it will keep you, because the protein and the carbs, they're going to go away in a bit because they don't have a lot of energy like your starch. But it's good to incorporate your food groups when you're eating as much as possible. It doesn't have to be, sometimes you can just eat your protein and your vegetables, but it shouldn't be a regular thing because you need that energy, that glucose for your brain and the rest of your body to function.
So, so you find that in eating starchy foods that are high in starch as part of your carbohydrates, you need to eat that so you can get that energy, because starch eventually breaks down into glucose.
Yeah.
And every inch of our body, every muscle, every organ in our body needs glucose. Our brain needs glucose. Glucose is important in order for us to sustain energy. So that's why grains are important in the diet.
There's a more complex.
Right, right. That's a good point, Josephine. Complex carbohydrates. That is what we need, not the refined carbohydrates. That's what we were talking about earlier, dense nutrient. Complex carbohydrate is what we need in our diet so that we can stay satisfied longer, so that we can burn energy off and help us stay healthy.
Yes.
Because if we do not eat the right food and include the right nutrients and stuff in our food, as Josephine was saying, we're going to start using our muscle, because the body needs to survive and it's going to do whatever it takes to survive. So you're going to start burning and muscles. And then what's going to happen? You're going to age quicker. You're going to get weaker because your muscles are being,
Use for
energy. Yeah. So that's why it's so important. You need to get, a dietitian, a registered dietitian who knows what they're doing, working along with a doctor, so you can be able to lose weight and in a healthy manner and keep the weight off, instead of going on these crash diets, these diets that only say to eat certain foods and leave out certain nutrients. You cannot sustain that for too long. So it's best to eat a balanced meal, maybe just have to eat less of it so you can lose the weight. So that's why it's so important. I'm glad Josephine brought this, how to calculate your basic metabolic weight, how to calculate your calories intake, so that if you're overweight, you need to maybe minus 500 calories a day, either by some food intake and exercise, so you can gain, so you can lose the weight that you're looking to lose.
Okay.
There's a question in the chat. How applicable is this diet to a diabetic? And I'm thinking they're talking about the one with the plate that had the vegetables, the protein, and carbohydrates on it. So the question pertains. Yes.
This is also good for people who have diabetes. That's what we say. We don't say diabetics. People with diabetes. I was told that they don't really have a diabetic diet per se. They can eat what we eat, but we focus more on portion size because they have to eat anyway, because they need the energy. Your portion size. So eat more of the foods with less sugar and less of the foods with more sugar. And those foods with more sugar are your grain and your starches. Eat a lot of vegetables, probably eat 2 servings of grains, and always have protein with your meals or your snacks. Protein or fat. Because the protein and fat, they are 2 complex structures and they're not easy to break down in the stomach, so it will keep you full longer. Whereas if you just eat a bowl of oatmeal in an hour and a half, that is gone. Your sugar spikes and you feel miserable and you're hungry before lunchtime. So always have protein, fat with your snacks and your regular meals to keep your sugar levels from skyrocketing. They're going to go up, but not as high.
All right. Thank you, Josephine. Any other questions for Josephine? I know we're just a little beyond 5:15, but any other questions? We want to make sure we answer them because we know that this is a very important topic as it relates to what we do every day. Eating, not only taking food in, but again, exercising and how we eliminate food from the body are just as important as what we take into the body. So being mindful of what you're leaving the body as far as fluids and waste to make sure that we're having that balance of nutrients in and then actually that in and out intake. Any other questions for Josephine? This is actually our last Saturday of the month, last Sabbath of the month, and we have talked about nutrition for the entire month of August, various types of nutrition. And this really, I think, really was very important because it's not only what you eat, it's how much you eat, so that you can have an actually healthy weight and that the body can function well and have the proper body mass.
I have a question.
Any other? Go ahead, Linda.
I have a couple of questions. The first one, I was going to ask her, how can you find a plant-based dietitian? And then the second one was, as far as what we drink, I know water is the best thing to drink, but sometimes you want something with flavors. Do y'all have any suggestions for that don't have a lot of sugar in it?
There are lots of plant-based dietitians, but you have to do some research. I cannot give you any offhand, but I know there are a lot of plant-based dietitians. In terms of your beverage intake, what I use, it may be controversial. I don't sweeten if I want to drink some ginger beer or some lemonade, I use the stevia, just 1 or 2, because now they have some controversy with it, but say it gives you blood clots, but only from what I've read, those persons who are at risk for blood clots, if you have blood pressure, heart problems, poor circulation, diabetes, those are the ones who have to just leave it alone. So I use maybe 1 packet or 2 packets. That is what I use. So people can use what they want, but you have to do your research to find out how this is going to affect your body, because Now the FDA is talking about some of these sweeteners that have the potential for cancer. So we need to do our research and look up these things and see which one is appropriate. Not that we're going to overdo it. Once in a while, you can do that. Nobody says you can use sugar. They have different types of sugar. Emily, what's the sugar you like to talk about?
Oh, so I guess coconut palm sugar is a low glycemic.
And monk fruit sugar is
Yeah.
also one that you can use. They have the white and they have the golden monk fruit. That's one people use a lot, the monk fruit.
Yeah. So Linda was also asking about to flavor her water, just infusing fruits. Like if you have
Yes, infusion.
fruit infusion, you just can take some strawberries, for example, put it in a mug with water and let it sit maybe overnight. And you have a tasty flavor water without the added sugar to it.
Yes, that's
Or lemon or any fruit that you like, you can just put some fruit in a jug of water and have it sitting there, and that fruit will infuse into the water, and then you have flavored water without even having to add sugar. Because I know all these sugars, they all break down to that glucose, part of it, and not glucose, fructose, I mean, and that is what could, so much of that could cause damage to our liver. So knowing what to do is very important. So this is where you come and get the information and know what to do so you can be better informed and be able to execute the right method, the right foods to eat and so forth. We have a question.
I'll talk about this slide. You can go online and get whatever your calorie intake came out to, and you want to know what foods you can incorporate into that calorie intake. Online they give you the food group. At the top they have the calories, and below they'll tell you how much of which food you could incorporate into your intake. Go ahead, Emily.
Okay. Okay. No, there was a question in the chat. It says, why do diabetics get hungry very fast after eating a meal?
What type of meal that they eat? What does a meal consist of?
A balanced meal.
Give an idea of what you would eat and then get hungry. Maybe you don't eat enough.
Well, like the food, like the plate that you just showed us.
Mm.
With the proteins, the carbohydrates, and the vegetables.
Based on what your calorie intake is, those proteins, the protein. So what I would suggest that when you have your salad, avocado is plentiful now, and that's a good fat to help to fill you. You can have a salad, if those of us who want to do that, with some avocado. And we can also cook, steam some vegetables. So you have 2 sets of vegetables, raw and cooked. Your protein and your starches. So based on what you got for your calorie intake, you can look at the chart and see how much of what. But this is a whole day, so might have to split them up. But the fat and the protein are essential along with your grains.
Yeah, because Josephine was just saying the fat and the protein keeps you satisfied longer. So therefore you will not feel hungry. So you must eat that balance, the fat, good healthy fat, and the protein.
Protein.
Because carbohydrates can break down faster, and that, if you eat a lot of carbohydrates, then you're going to be
And it's
having that.
recommended, some experts say diabetics should have a snack between their meals.
Mhm.
So you can eat something between there, breakfast and lunch. Don't go more than 3 hours without eating.
Another question. Can a child who is about 7 years old drink too much water? I know a child that is 7 years old will drink more, let's say like more than 2 liters of water per day.
That's a bit much, because I heard a story, this lady, she went on the river and she was thirsty and she drank 8 cups of water in 20 minutes and she died. That's
Whoa.
recently. Because she diluted her body fluids. Your body fluids, your potassium and your
Your
salt
sodium, yeah.
things need to be a certain level for your, especially your heart, to function. She died because she drank 64 ounces of water in 20 minutes. So that child, they are saying 1 cup per year. So if he's 7, he can drink probably 5 to 7 cups of water per day.
But the other thing too, the child is very active. He have a little size. When I say a little size, but and he's very active. He don't sit down.
Yeah, but we have to
Really?
regulate that, because I don't think 2 liters of water is good for a 7-year-old.
And there could be some
I was-
diseases why it's causing him to drink so much water. Is he urinating a lot?
Well, sometimes.
Yeah, because signs of diabetes is
Yeah,
excess urine, urinating frequently and drinking a lot of
Yes.
water.
yep.
So maybe he needs to be tested to see if maybe he has some sort of, he's pre-diabetic or something.
'Cause he's not
Another
young,
hormones imbalance, pardon me.
he's not too young to have diabetes.
Right, in this day and age, kids are 7 years old, could have, and they can have juvenile diabetes with something they were born with, and sometimes doesn't get detected, after a couple of years. So maybe get him checked out.
Mhm. Okay.
Yeah, so we are fearfully and wonderfully made. God has made this body in a way that it will always survive if we put the right nutrients, exercise, do the right things. We we can live a long, healthy life. Thank you, Josephine, for bringing these points to our attention, on how we can calculate our calories so that we can benefit our bodies to stay healthy, and for us to gain the right amount of weight or lose the weight that we have in excess. These things are very important. At this time, we are going to turn our attention to questions, to prayer requests. We can start